And that is what the UFC does not have right now outside of just a select few people. In 5 years from now, who will be remembered that is currently fighting in the UFC? Not many, I truly think. I think you have Conor McGregor, who will be remembered forever. You have the Stylebender will likely be remembered. He was a very dominant champion. He had a little spunk to him too. And I think Sean O'Malley will as well. Sean O'Malley fights this weekend. Whether or not he wins, whether or not he is a champion, his goofy hair, his terrible beard, and his ability to smoke pot and grapple have all made him incredibly memorable. And people are drawn to him for some reason. Actually, he's a charming individual. I've never met him, but I've watched him on a few things. And he's kind of a funny kid. He's kind of a goofy dude. He's not all that he seems to be when he has that mic in his hand. Like, he gets that mic in his hand, and he's not great on the mic. But when you put a camera on him, he's really good. He really draws you in and makes you want to kind of hang out with him. And I think that's why he has a title fight. Nobody denies that Petr Yan beat him. It was one of the worst decisions I have seen in the UFC history. But because Petr Yan lost and Sean O'Malley won, Sean has the next title fight. He's fighting Aljamain Sterling, and I think he's going to get slaughtered. But he has been on that trajectory upward. He is supposed to win. And the UFC has been very good at picking who's supposed to win and them winning. I do think Conor McGregor is that. Conor McGregor should not have beaten Jose Aldo, especially not in 13 seconds, but he did. He should not have beaten Chad Mendes on any given day, but that was a 2-week notice fight. Conor McGregor, he went from fighting Dennis Seaver to a title shot. O'Malley went from I shouldn't hold it against him because it's not his fault. He got a victory from bad decisions, bad judging, and he should take full advantage of that. Brag about that win, even though nobody thinks he actually beat Petr Yan. Brock Lesnar went from, Frank Mir, lost to Frank Mir, beat Frank Mir in the rematch, and then got a title shot against Randy Couture. Was unearned. The Stylebender, last Stylebender, he earned it. I didn't think he did, but then I went and Googled who he was fighting and when he was fighting. He earned that title shot. He beat some studs. And so I regret thinking that about him. But anyways, back to O'Malley. O'Malley's an incredibly entertaining fighter. He's got that personality that on the mic, not completely great, but in front of a camera, he does wonderful things. And he makes people like him. He's got that bro factor. That bro factor is hard to train fighters in. If you're a young fighter, no young fighter, you have to tell them, you have to understand personally. Winning is the most important. Win every chance you can. You have to win. Finishes are important too. Winning's more important. Get the finish. And when you get that microphone, when you are at home, make yourself memorable. If you're in the ring with the microphone, if you're at home with the camera on, whatever you say needs to be said with something to make somebody remember you, something to either make someone love you or hate you. And that is what the UFC does not have right now outside of just a select few people. That is the difference between being memorable and being just some guy that fought in the UFC. I like to think that I had some personality to me. I like to think when I got that microphone in the UFC, although it has been a few years since the UFC's given me that microphone after a win. I took full advantage. I made people remember me. People were impressed with my knockouts. People loved when I was on that mic. That is what got sent around the world. And I do everything I can to make people love or hate or just remember me. If they're talking about me online in a positive way, I try and respond. If they're talking to me in a bad way, I say, hey, 5 years from now, I won't know who you are and you'll still know who I am. It drives people nuts. At least I think it. I like to tell myself it does. Sean O'Malley has that it factor. And I think that's why he gets this title shot against Aljo. I do think he's going to lose. I think he's going to get out-wrestled. Petr Yan out-wrestled him. I mean, Petr Yan's a boxer, and he out-wrestled O'Malley. Took him down, I think, at will. It was real close to at will. He got cut a little bit somewhere in there, but still won the round. I thought it was 30-27 Petr. This title fight has so much hype on it. Not because Aljo. A little because Aljo. A little. He was at the Nashville fights and he got booed every time he was on camera. It was I felt bad. I like Aljamain Sterling. I know him very slightly, but I've been around him a few times. Great guy, a lot of fun, has a good car. That's something hard to find. Someone that'll talk to you, looking you in the eyes. He does that. He's a good dude. Sean O'Malley, I've never met him. On the microphone, little stale, as I keep saying. But he has that it factor, whether it be his goofy clown hair or his terrible beard. He has what people want to see. If you're a young fighter, you need to come up with something. Do not steal that. And Sean O'Malley is the perfect example of what not to steal. People were comparing him to Conor McGregor. People were doing everything they can to say, oh, he's going to the top because he and Conor are like this. And for the longest time, I thought O'Malley was like straight up Irish. I thought he trained with Conor. He doesn't. He, because people were comparing him so well, has gone out of his way to make sure people realize there's a difference, that they're not the same. He's not getting famous the same way Conor is. Don't copy O'Malley. Don't do the hair thing. Don't do the beard thing. Don't do the smoke weed and roll thing. Come up with your own thing. Make it be yours. It could be simple. You could smile a lot on camera. People love that. Don't steal my thing. You could do anything. Vince St. Prude does that thing. Anything you can do to make people remember you will help. If you can get people to remember you, you can suffer a loss and people will still love you for it. The UFC will still look at you for it. Karate Combat will look at you. PFL will look at you. You have to do that little bit of extra work. You have to get on your Instagram, your Twitter, your TikTok, your this, your that, your Twitch, your whatever, and you have to sell yourself. You have to be a personality. And the UFC does not have that right now. Outside of O'Malley and Conor, who's now old, and let's see, the Diaz brothers are gone. The last Stylebender, he does a little bit more. He's anime-y. I don't know. He will be remembered, but there's not many more. You think Jan Blachowicz is going to be remembered in 5 years? I don't. Teixeira? Probably not. Yuri Pragnow? Probably not. He cut his hair off. That was the worst decision he could have made. Keep that hair forever. Who in the UFC, and this I'm asking you guys right now, tell me in the comments, who in the UFC, if they were to retire right now, would be remembered in 5 years? Sean Strickland would. Whether you love him or hate him, Sean Strickland would be remembered because he says whatever comes to his mind, and he makes it seem like fact. Sean O'Malley will, because his fights are entertaining, but because he looks weird, the hair and the beard. All of those of you out there watching that want to be in the UFC, what are you going to do that will be remembered in 5 years? That will give the UFC a reason to want you on here. Whether you're fighting for LFA or Fury or a local promotion, every time you're on stage, get somebody to film it, run your mouth. You don't have to be a jerk. You don't have to do anything other than be yourself and just emphasize part of what yourself is. Make people want to know you. Make people want to remember you. And they will. I mean, assuming you're not a total douchebag. Anyways, I love you guys. Tell me in the comments who will be remembered 5 years from now. And we'll talk to you soon. By the way, huge news coming. Huge news, contracts and all that stuff. Love you, Feldon Filleritas.
Go. Jesus Christ, you are my Lord and Savior. I thank you for every minute you give me in this life. Every second you give me in this octagon. Thank you, God. Thank you, man, for being here. I intended on getting this microphone to call out Francis McGregor because I wanted $2 million. But after spending 5 minutes, 15 minutes in the cage of that big son of a gun, Francis, you're off the hook. Jake Paul, your ass is back on the hook, my man. I will welcome you into the deal now. I will welcome you to your first loss. And when I'm done with you, I'm done.